Saying good morning, saying good morning, saying good morning to one and all. Welcome to It's to the Point for today, Tuesday, the 8th day of July 2025. Good morning to those of you who are listening to us via social media platforms. Those of you who are, of course, listening via the YouTube channels, Facebook page. Good morning to you. Welcome. I'm your host, GT. Welcome. It's to the Point. It's Opposition Tuesday here on today's edition of To the Point. With me this morning representing the Opposition New National Party and for this morning. We have Senator Norland Cox of the Sister Isles of Carriacou and PT Martinique. Good morning to you, Senator Cox. Good morning to you and welcome. How are you doing this morning, sir?
Pleasant morning, GT, and a pleasant morning to your viewers and listeners. It's a bright and sunny morning, a bit windy outside, but it's sunny outside.
All right. Senator Cox, let's get the ball rolling this morning. On July the 1st, today being the 8th day of July, on July the 1st, 2025, 1 year from the passage of Hurricane Beryl in the Sister Isle of Carriacou, we know of the destruction that actually took place. How is it in terms of the recovery in Carriacou as it stands now? How pleased are you as a resident, a member of course, of the Senate and so forth, in being in Carriacou on a daily basis? How do you feel in the process of the progress, I should say, in terms of that have taken place in terms of the recovery right now as it stands 1 year after Hurricane Beryl?
Before I go into the question specifically, I think it's important after a year for us to at least recognize and to extend condolences to those who would have lost their lives during the passage of the hurricane, and there are some persons who passed shortly thereafter. It has been a tough time for everybody, but at the same time, many lives were spared. So we are very grateful for that. So it's a kind of solemn time while persons are busy with trying to bring back some form of normalcy to their life. But it is also a time where, you feel so grateful despite the disruption with one's life in terms of your material comfort. You're still very grateful to have the breath of life and to have your family with you. So with that, I really think it's important that, we pay attention to that and recognize that as something very important as a people, that we need to do that as well. As regards to the state and maybe to assess or to score where we are after a year, sometimes I think I don't want to give my score. My score might be deemed as being skewed, but I think in hearing from people, persons are grateful for whatever support that the government was able to provide for them. They're very grateful for it. However, there is a general sense of dissatisfaction with the level of recovery in comparison to the resources that persons know that was available for reconstruction and redevelopment. So in a general sense, there is that dissatisfaction in that regard. At the same time, being grateful for whatever support that they would have received. That is, for me, in a nutshell, a summary of how persons' feedback is on the ground.
What more would you all have liked to have seen done, sir, in terms of the overall, recovery? You spoke of what folks said. They speak of dissatisfaction. That is understandable. What more would you have liked to seen done overall, to bring back that sense of wellness for the folks of Carriacou and Petit Martinique after Hurricane Beryl? What more would you have liked to see done?
I think the real issue starts with the process, what was adopted as a process for the recovery. And it has to start with the whole issue of not having a physical count, a proper assessment of the damage. I think that led to some weaknesses in terms of response. And so hence the reason why we have those issues that we have now. Secondly, the structure that was implemented in terms of issuing the support the lack of monitoring thereof. We speak about more of the challenges of the program. I think those are glaring issues that continue to permeate throughout the communities, where people believe that because of the
All right, we have lost Senator Cox there for a wee bit. We had a slight connection problem there with you, Senator Cox, so folks may have lost you, so you may go ahead now. Continue.
Okay, sorry about that. Yes. And I think one of the key issues has to do with the response in terms of singling out some persons, blacklisting some persons because of perceived political preference has also been a main feature of the response effort. That I think that there was a clear opportunity for the government to go past that, and there is nothing wrong with offering support to your supporters, your supporters. There is nothing wrong with that, but there is not a reason in the case of this disaster for you to single out a fellow brother or sister who has lost their home, who is suffering, because you believe that they are not a support of your party. When you're in government, you have that responsibility to respond to everybody's needs. The election has passed, we have gone past that, and you have to respond in a mature way, in a way from a national standpoint to respond to the issues and concerns of everyone. And I think that is where the failure lies with those three issues, and that is something that I would have done differently.
So, as we move on, my final question on that level for now: what is your take of the everyday commute of individual? Your take, sir, on the everyday commute of residents of the Sister Isles of Carriacou, in particular where you reside, is one of the major islands that got damaged, including Petit Martinique also. You see the folks of Carriacou and Petit Martinique, who you meet on a daily basis. What is the overall morals of the individuals up there? 1 year. Post-hurricane.
After GT, a number of persons have not even scratched the soil yet. A number of persons some persons would have got their roof back. Some persons would have received a house from government. Some persons just getting back in the house. Some persons just starting to do work on the house. So it's varying situations. But there is a general sense in terms of difficulties, especially with the cost of living, the cost of material. That has really created a burden for most persons. And oftentimes, even on this program with the Parliament, I spoke a lot on the relief measures that were implemented, and to ask that it be more focused and centered around Carriacou and Petit Martinique, because our challenges and needs are more specific in respect. As regards to Petit Martinique, the challenge still remain with the transportation, with the lack of the jetty in Windward and the jetty in Hillsborough. The senior citizens, is difficult for them to disembark at Hillsborough. So that challenge still remains for Petit Martinique. In terms of other transportation, it has been okay with the Osprey. I know that since the Dolly Sea went down, there has been a challenge with the one major cargo boat bringing cargo back and forth. That has been a very difficult time for persons, especially in terms of business. Sometimes you want to go to Grader with your car. When you get to the boat, you may not get on, and if you do get on, you may not be able to get back up with your vehicle at the time you want to return back to Carriacou. So that has been an issue. And if you notice, on the port highway, you see long lines of vehicles waiting to bring stuff onto the boat. So there has been some challenge in that regard because of the lone boat bringing materials up. I think there's another boat that does, but not frequently. I think it's once per week. When they come from Trinidad, they would try to supplement and bring materials up. So those are the key situations that persons are experiencing. But GT, in a nutshell, it is still a difficult time for Carriacouans and Petit Martinique. I've been in Petit Martinique on Sunday, the Fisherman Birthday celebration over there, and just speaking with persons who are still living in tent. It's just a difficult time for them. They are hopeful that the government can fix this program, they can get it right. Some persons have given up hope. Some of the fishermen, they're still outstanding in terms of the support. So there are a number of factors. I mean, we have to be realistic. Government do have limitations. They may not get everything right, and that is understandable.
Okay, we have lost you there again, Senator Cox. Folks, it's to the point. Senator Cox, we have lost you there a wee bit. We have lost you there a wee bit in terms of that bit of a connection problem we're having there this morning. I want to move on a wee bit. You mentioned housing a whole lot in terms of your past contribution that you've made. Let's talk housing. Housing continues to be one of the biggest concerns, of course, for the people of Carriacou, Petit Martinique. What is the situation like right now? What are some of these that main challenges that you see the folks poses, especially when it comes to housing in Carriacou and Petit Martinique?
Well, some persons don't have a place to stay. Some persons are living in makeshift. Some persons, their roof are still off. Some persons are residing with friends or family. We do have some residents on mainland Grenada in a home, some of the senior persons who had a home and lost their home, so they have not returned. Some of them have not returned to Carriacou as yet. So it is a situation that is, after a year, it is still tough. Fortunately for some persons who have the capacity, they are back in their homes and functioning okay. Persons who are recipient of a prefab house or a better built back house, they are comfortably inside. So that is the situation before us in terms of housing. But there are far more persons in need of housing support and in comparison to those who are comfortable. I can tell you that for a fact.
We heard about, the promises of the 200 prefab houses. Can you update on where that particular, of course, stands right now in terms of that 200 prefab? Are we seeing 200 prefab houses in Carriacou ready to go for the folks to move in and so forth as yet?
Certainly not, Judy. I think the last time I spoke about those houses, the situation still remains the same, or even probably worsened, because nobody is actually looking at those houses. So probably shrubs, weeds probably growing in and around those houses right now. I think about 3 or 4 of those houses have been erected. No power to them, no water, accommodation. I think the septic or sockaway system have not been installed. So those houses are uninhabitable currently. And it's a big missed opportunity. Persons, I believe, who are looking forward to receiving one of those houses, for persons who are not do not have a house at the moment. So it's a big situation. It's a big gap. Persons are asking, and we have been asking, what is the situation with that? Is that program dead? We don't know, and we haven't heard any response. I did make a post about it, just drawing the awareness to the ministry and the government from feedback you get on the ground. Sometimes when you raise concerns, it is deemed as if you're critiquing or criticizing. But I think my responsibility as opposition is to raise certain things that the people are concerned about. And that if persons have been following me, I have been raising those concerns in a respectable way, in a fair way, and also giving suggestions in which the government can look at possible suggestions to help remedy and to fix the situation as it moves forward. Judy, I stand in Parliament more than once, and I said it there, I said it now. We are not hoping for the government to fail, because anyhow there is some sense of failure. The people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique are going to suffer. So that doesn't make any sense. So what we have been doing is assessing stuff, listing feedback, and raising concerns and giving suggestions how those things can be better done. And that is what I will continue to do. That is who I am. I've always been a responsible person in that regard. So I think it's important that we raise these issues, because people are hurting. People are hurting, and it's important as leaders that we do everything that we can to meet those needs. And so, I continue to call on the government. And we can go further Just as recent as yesterday, I had reports that a team from the audit department is in Carriacou. And, when we spoke last on this program, and I did indicate some of the irregularities in the program, I did mention it in Parliament as well, as a concern that people are saying that there are a lot of wrong things taking place with the program. And it means that money is being wasted, monies that could have been gone to help somebody else who have not received assistance before is being wasted or misappropriated. And now that we see it, and after raising it, and after hearing some of the senior ministers of government indicating that there are irregularities, we are seeing now that the audit department has stepped in to take an assessment of what is taking place, take a stock, and to bring some accountability to this whole housing issue.
We've heard from various sources, sir, about the coming of a halt to the program in terms of at the end of July. What are some of the feedback that you've been hearing from residents of Carriacou who are hearing that bit of information? We also heard from the Minister of Carriacou and Petit Martinique, the Honourable Tavananchu, that is the government will not be doing that. But we have heard the conversation from time to time from other members of government that the program will be coming to a halt. What is that feedback you've been hearing? What is that worrisome issue from the folks from Carriacou and Petit Martinique hearing such a decision will be made?
Well, I think that you have used the right word, GT. It's been worrisome news for persons somewhat short of panic. Persons are very, very concerned. Persons on hearing that, persons who have not drawn down on their approval for material support when they went to everybody kind of got like rushed to the hardware store to see if they could get the stuff before the program closed. Unfortunately, the support has ceased. There are reports that due to lack of payments for the suppliers, the material suppliers, they have not received satisfactory payment from the government. So they, in terms of manage the business, are unable to go further in debt because the materials that they are giving out has to be paid for, and if they're paid for them, and it has to be replenished. So monies have to be paid so that they can continue with their program. So that is what has happened. Persons, we've heard from the Minister of Finance that yes, the program is going to close at the end of July. However, the Minister of Carriacou and Petit Martinique gave a different itemation. But I think the onus is on him to speak specifically to the program, in the sense that to say yes or no, is the burial support program going to continue or is going to be discontinued? I think he made some general statement that the government will continue to support the people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. I mean, that goes without saying. The government has a responsibility to support the people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique in every aspect, in development, in education, in youth development, in culture, social development, as it will do on the mainland. So that's a no-brainer. I think what people want to hear is the burial support, particularly, specifically in terms of support for building house material support, is that going to continue? And the question is for how long, so that persons can gauge and plan how they're going to do their rebuilding, how it's going to be done, because there are other things that they would have to do as well. And if it's not going to continue, persons will know and make other arrangements otherwise. I mean, we are resilient people, and if the support is not there, persons are going to find a way to make it happen. It may take a longer time for them to do it, but they are going to make it. And so I think it is important, the onus is on the Ministry of Carriacou and Petit Martinique to be clear, to be direct, and to be specific in what the issue is. Because one person is saying that it's going to continue to some extent, and the Minister of Finance, who of course is the one who is actually looking at the accounts of the country, and if he says yes, that it is going to close. The Minister of Housing said yes, it's going to close. It is apparent, it is clear that they are speaking with some level of authority that it it means that it's a decision from the cabinet. So unless probably the Minister for Carriacou and Pidimantnik was not at that cabinet meeting, or he probably didn't see the minutes of that meeting, where a decision was taken to cease the program at the end of July. So that is where the confusion is for Carriacouans. And I think there is an opportunity to just make it specifically clear as to what is going to happen, because people want to know. I mean, people understand that government do have limitations. Government can't do everything, but they need to know so that they can respond and they can plan properly for themselves and their families.
All right, Senator Cox, we drew for a break. Let's take that break. We come back. We continue the conversation. It's To The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. We will be right back after the break. Stay with us, folks.
Calling the CARICOM community, assembling Global Africa, the 4th edition of the Afri-Caribbean Trade Investment Forum. Active 2025 is coming to St. George, Grenada, this 28th to 29th July. Join government and business leaders, investors, and trade and finance institutions to explore the theme, resilience and transformation, enhancing Africa-Caribbean economic cooperation in an era of global uncertainty. Be there as we stand together to strengthen our commercial ties, to promote shared trade and investment opportunities, and unlock prosperity for Africa, the Caribbean, and the wider diaspora. The 4th Afri-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum. Reserve your place now at active2025.com.
When nature call, you must answer. You must answer. When GBN spice up the Ghana's calling, you must answer. You must answer. Yo, Grenada, smoke and go. You don't know. Look out for us at Spice Up the Carnage. No SMS. Smoke and go. When nature calls, you must answer. You must answer.
Welcome back to our listeners. Welcome back, viewers, to The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. Let's say welcome back to, of course, the Senator Cox this morning here on today's edition of To The Point. Senator Cox, welcome back, sir. Let's continue the conversation this morning. There's been some changes to the Emancipation Day holiday this year. What kind of response have you been of course, have been hearing, I should say, and especially from the people involved in regatta? How is it? What would that be affecting them in some way or the other? The whole regatta celebrations in Carriacou, being that the holiday, of course, the particular day that they are accustomed to has not been changed.
It's a big debate, GT. Even at the Parliament, there was extensive debate on it. I think every member who attended the Senate spoke. I think I understand what the intentions of the government in wanting to hone in on the actual day and to harmonize Grenada celebration with the other country celebration. But the point that I had made at the Parliament is still suffice in the sense that there was this argument that when we have the celebration here on the first Monday of August is jump on a wave or drink rum and whatsoever. And I mean, I contend that if you look at, because when the leader for government business in the Senate presented the bill, he indicated that his justification and argument centered around other countries like St. Lucia, Barbados, Jamaica, who celebrates Emancipation Day and have the holiday on the 1st. So I looked at what they were doing for Emancipation Day in terms of activities, and what they were doing for Emancipation Day for activities on the 1st. It was basically no different in essence, in retrospect, or in summary. what we were doing on the first Monday, because when you look at Rainbow City Festival, when you look at Carriacou Regatta, they are all derivatives of emancipation, meaning that they are products of emancipation where, because of emancipation, you were able to do certain things like your culture, your tradition. You're able to practice those things because of emancipation. So emancipation is important. It's an important day, and yes, it should not be trivialized. But I don't think doing those activities on the first Monday is in any way trivializing it, and that was my contention. It doesn't take away from knowing that the first is the day it actually happened, but I understand the decision that are taken to in terms of having the holiday, because holidays are a cost to government. Yeah, every holiday is a cost to government. Every additional holiday is a day that government does not collect any revenue. So it's a cost on government. So I am thinking that, they were looking to twin the holiday with some economic activity, some celebratory activity recognizing and honoring the Emancipation Day. I think that is what existed there before. But some other persons contend differently. They think that Emancipation Day is probably too important a day to be mixed with anything else, and believe that it should be celebrated separately. So that is the debate, that is the discourse. However, for activities, celebrations, festivals like the Carriacou Regatta, that is about 60 years old, you understand the implication that it has. You're not doing this for so long. There is a certain expectation, and so now that there will be some changes. I haven't heard specifically from the Carriacou Regatta. I haven't had a chance to speak to the chairman as yet, but I will have a conversation with the chairman on it just to get his take. But there are going to be some reconfiguration of the celebration, because there will be one day less, in a sense, for the regatta to take place. I can't see what will happen for the Rainbow City Festival, but there will be some impact. How significant, I don't know. I can't say. I haven't heard much verbal discussion in the public. Yesterday, one of the racing enthusiasts, he was somewhat disappointed that no consideration was given for regatta, because it's something that is deeply rooted in Carriacou and it's part of our culture and tradition. So I guess as much there'll be varying views on it, GT, but it's still up in the air as to what the impact will be and how people will actually receive it. Maybe when it's implemented, maybe it may not be that bad, or maybe it might be felt. So okay. For me, it's up in the air.
So have you heard any information? Do you have any information here in what's about the scheduling and so forth for the different activities regatta thus far? You haven't heard anything of that nature yet?
Not as yet, because normally what would happen on the Friday before regatta, you have what you call the trials. So you have that preparation race. The guys go out, you try your boat, you go on a race just to make sure that your boat is seaworthy, that it can ready to take part in the race, because you don't want any breakdowns when you're actually going to partake in the race. So the Friday is scheduled for that. You have the briefing for the boatmen that take place on Friday, and then Saturday you normally have what you call like the Round the Island race or the long open boat races. So you have a singular race on the Saturday. It's a long race, longer than normal. And then on the Sunday and the Monday, you have there's two races, I think, on the Sunday and one on the Monday, which culminates with a number of onshore activities on the Monday, including the flambeau to recognize emancipation. There is this march around Hillsborough, persons with the African wear and the flambeau and singing and whatsoever, recognizing Emancipation Day and speeches to also recognize Emancipation Day. So that takes place on the Monday itself as regatta closed down. So that's what normally happens. So now all Monday's activities or some of it will have to be carried over to Sunday or even maybe Saturday. So I'll see how it is done, and it means that there will be more races on Saturday and probably more, just a split of more on Sunday. So I'm not sure how they're going to do it, but that is the situation that is before the committee, and also for persons who would go out and sell, vendors and things like that, they will have to take note that Monday would not be a public holiday as previous years.
All right. Well, we await, of course, to see the impact of the changes and so forth, and the adjustments that certainly will be made by the committee and so forth, and see what difference it make. Will it work or not? And maybe some other, of course, decisions will certainly have to be made. We are certainly await that. Senator Cox,
before you go, there is a possible window, where Carriacou for Carnival, we normally get like a preferable holiday just for Carriacou only. So it is possible that they can do that just for the Monday. Just for Carriacou and Pidimatick. It has been done before. Through the Governor General Office, the proclamation can be done to do that. But also, I don't know how that will impact St. Andrews, so that is where the issues lie.
There's certainly going to be some give and take taking place there, but we are certainly await the changes and see what adjustments could be made. I want to speak specifically in this segment about, of course, support for farmers and fishermen in the Sister Isles of Carriacou. We've been hearing that a lot of farmers and fishermen are still waiting for support. What is the current status of that particular issue? What are the people saying on the ground in reference to the support, especially for farmers and fishermen in Carriacou and Petit Martinique, sir?
Well, Judy, prior to budget, all right, there's a support initiative through the Barrel Reef program, where farmers were to receive, I think, some income support for damages and material support. I think some persons receive some BRC wire for fencing purposes, and water tanks, the plastic tanks, or the plastic tanks for water purposes, for catching water. For the fishermen, I think they receive financial support. I think how it was done, 50% of the cost or the value of the damage. So if your boat, after being assessed, the damage was $200, you're going to be compensated 50% of that, which is $100. So that is how it was done. What had happened, a number of persons, some persons were left out accidentally, some persons were left out deliberately, and that's a fact. And so it appears that whatever funds that were allocated for that came and finished, and a number of persons, bona fide fishermen and farmers, did not receive that support. And so we go right back again, to the structure that was in place and how it has failed the persons most in need. And that is a recurrent characteristic of this program, of the response from the government. And so what we have seen now, the farmers and fishermen met, I think, I'm not certain if the Prime Minister was present, but I know the Minister for Carriacou and Petit Martinique was present. They had a meeting sometime before budget in March, and they were promised that after budget that they would receive, once the budget is passed, they're going to receive the compensation. I think to date, no such compensation has been made, and so farmers and fishermen in particular who really need those support to get their boat and to get the business back up and running have been really clamoring for it. It has been a constant conversation in all circles, especially for Petit Martinique, we is a fishing community, and I think there are about 40 fishermen or more in Petit Martinique who has not received that support. So that is a serious issue, and is one that and continue to raise the awareness of government to find some way to quickly, fishermen, but they just concluded, I think that would have been a great opportunity to present them with a support on fishermen, but they were honored before, but it didn't happen. For whatever reason, but the situation continues. It continues to be one of a great discomfort for fishermen and farmers.
All right.
So that is the situation where we are with that.
So, the Cox, tell me, what do you think could be done in the immediate right now to offer that relief and help for, of course, to the farmers and fishermen in Carriacou? What could be done in the immediate to make that bigger difference for them to get life back to a level of normalcy, if I could say it in that particular way?
Well, I mean, I cannot speak on as to what government finances are, but what should have happened by now, at least, there should have been a clear indication, a clear assessment as to how much persons have been impacted, what is the value of the payment that is promised to be made, and government in some way can look through the ministries in terms of the allocation of the various votes and can apply those payments over a period of time, probably instead of trying to gather all the funds one time and to make one payment. They could probably look at it, look to see those are in most in need, or probably start with the smaller payments first and leave the larger ones that they can handle at a later time, at a later date. So those are some approaches that they can take. But I think, in honest, some consideration should be given to say is if every month we will try to pay 5 or 10 fishermen or farmers, I think that will show some consideration on the government part, trying to meet this need, this urgent need from the farmers and fishermen at this point in time. I think that would be a good thing that they could probably try to do. As I say, I don't know what is the status, the financial status of the government. However, the Minister of Carriacou and Petit indicated that there is no cash flow issue. But for some reason, a number of service providers have not been receiving payments. So that does not in any way reflect somebody who doesn't have any cash flow issues. If you don't have any cash flow issues, why you're not meeting your payments? And so I know that the Minister of Finance did indicate something to do with processing and delay in preparing the claims, but I can see in some cases 6 months or more, some service providers have not received their payment for the services. I think it's much more than what is being said.
Senator Cox, we drew for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, we continue with more of the conversation. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. We're coming right back. Don't touch it down.
Climate change.
Calling the CARICOM community, assembling global Africa. The 4th edition of the Afri-Caribbean Trade Investment Forum, Active 2025, is coming to St. George, Grenada, this 28th to 29th July. Join government and business leaders, investors, and trade and finance institutions to explore the theme, Resilience and Transformation, Enhancing Africa-Caribbean Economic Cooperation in an Era of Global Uncertainty. Be there as we stand together to strengthen our commercial ties, to promote shared trade and investment opportunities, and unlock prosperity for Africa, the Caribbean, and the wider diaspora. The 4th Afri-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum. Reserve your place now at active2025.com.
Send it on like a Ramaton, you know, the original scintillating from the king of drama, breakdown stage, Deuter Hammer, and I'm endorsing Spice of the Carners 2025. We'll be out from the 25th. I want to see every rags and flags lift. Volcano, chainsaw in Chicago, volcano, mash up stage and mash up show. Send it on.
Play the tune, all the commissioner laughing. You know, it's a mistake to tell we don't do it. When they tell we don't do it, it's like they better tell we do it, cause we do it. Yo, fat man! When they telling us don't do that, we doing that. Drink the rubber, don't mash up that.
Stumps ready? The biggest party in sports is back. It's Republic Bank CPL 2025. Bowls off August 14th to September 21st. 34 matches, 6 teams, 6 nations. Your Caribbean cricket frenzy. From big sixes to deadly yorkers, catch every boundary, every wicket, every moment live on GBN TV and Classic Radio. This is not just cricket. This is CPL, sponsored by Republic Bank, Glen, and Hubbard. Republic Bank CPL 2025. Don't miss a ball.
Welcome back once again, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. It's To The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. It's Opposition Tuesday on today's program. We're here representing, of course, the opposition here, Senator Norland Cox, of course, over there in the Sister Isle of Carriacou with us this morning. Senator Cox, once again, welcome back to today's edition of To The Point. Senator Cox, I want to ask you this. Now, what are some of the key how can I put this? What are some of the key things you would like to see happen for Carriacou and Petit Martinique in the months ahead, sir? What are some of the key things you would like to see happen?
You see, I think probably the best thing for us to focus on is to look at what are the key things that are affecting Carriacouans and Petit Martiniquans at this point in time, and we circle right back to the issue of housing. You know, it's still a nagging issue. So I probably want to see if the government can find a way to continue the support, of course, for persons, especially those in need. I'm talking about everyone that is who in need, and not to continue with this preferential selection and leaving out people in need for whatever reason, one reason or the other, personal or political. I think there is no room for that right now. I mean, it's not a good thing. You know, it's really hurt me to see where some people are right now. And while we recognize that everything don't happen right away, we recognize that what has been going on, if it continues, it's going to be not a successful pathway in terms of the housing recovery. So government needs to change course. I do hope that the review process that they indicated that is ongoing right now will help, and a change in attitude towards persons who are in need. I think we need to see that in the next few months. We need to see that change, and for a more dedicated support towards Carriacou and Petit Martinique, especially Petit Martinique, GT. And I see this on the backdrop in terms of the reports, the financial reports, the expenditure reports. I think the Minister for MIT indicated at some press conference recently that 40 million was spent on mainland Grenada, and 20 million was spent in Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Now, I mean, I'm baffled as to why the place with the most damage got the less allocation. The place with the most damage also had the less allocation for houses. So I understand that there are housing needs on the mainland, and if that is being treated through whatever program, but to take funds specifically carried for burial and use it towards building a house for somebody in Grenans, while somebody in Carriacou who has lost their home cannot get a house because some allocation go to some other areas on the mainland where no impact of the hurricane happened. I think there is some degree of unfairness in that regard, while not taking away from the person who needs a home or needs a home to repair. But if allocations were made, especially through CRIF, for persons who sustain damages as a result of the hurricane. I think that is where the funds should go first. And if there is extra, then it can go to other persons in need. But I don't see why Carriacouans and Pitimandicans have to be left out, have to be in the rain, literally in the rain, while somebody else, 100 houses that is claimed to be built on the mainland, better build back houses, and Carriacou is in the minority. That is not fair, and I was very shocked when I saw that expenditure report. And it tells a clear story, and those are some of the changes that we want to see. We deserve better. We need more focus. We need more support. We definitely need more support. Carriacouans and Pitimandicans, they need the help.
Telekak, if I could ask you this, if you have an opportunity to speak to the decision makers directly right now about what the people in Carriacou and Pitti Martinique is going through, is there anything you really want to say to them directly, especially the decision makers? Say to them directly.
Well, GD, I've said it. I've posted it. I've shown videos. I've shown photos. I've stand up in Parliament. I've been doing it over the past year, and I'm certain that they are hearing, and I'm certain that maybe tomorrow the Minister of Carriacou and Pitti Martinique may come on your program and seek to give a different view. But the situation, it is what it is. I cannot do something to change the fact that persons are getting wet. You understand? That is the situation before us. So what I'm mostly saddened by, GT, and most times is when you see comments, when you make certain remark or you make certain presentation on the situation, and you hear some people's comment who is not experiencing what people are experiencing in Carriacou. They are home comfortably in the house. And so it's disingenuous for people to be making certain comments or certain remarks when you're not going through what people are going through. And that is the thing that gets me angry. That is what I'm most upset about. If you don't understand what people are going through, better you don't say anything. You're trying to drag people down and you don't know what people are going through. It is a tough time for people. And we have worked with the government in the sense that we are not bashing around the government. We are just saying, hey, look, these are the areas that you guys need to focus on. There are issues here. There are problems here. This is how you could do it better. That is all that I have been saying over the past 12 months and more. I've been saying that. But persons have it as if I'm trying to score political points. I'm involved in this because I'm a Carriacouan, because I care, and that is how I feel, and that is why I do what I do on a daily basis. That is why I help people every day. I try to help people, So I know what I do. The Almighty know what I do. So I don't. Sometimes I don't even. I'm blinded by the comments, but saddened that persons to go that road because you have a particular political preference. Find out what the situation is. Try to understand what people is going through. Speak to your support. Speak to your representatives. Speak to your party. Tell them to do better. Tell them, look, find a way to improve. Find a way to do better for Carriacou instead of trying to drag me down. What is that about? What is that about? Where does that get us? It doesn't get us in. And so that is the situation,
All right. And before we move on, I haven't asked you anything much about the constituency and how our work is going on for you. Your daily activity, of course, walk through the constituency, the things that you're doing and so forth. How is things with the constituency in Carriacou and Pitti Martinique? And as you respond to that, I want to urge our listeners and viewers, if you do have a question or two you want to ask another Cox, the opportunity is now available for you also, 435-2041. Tell us about the constituency. How's the work going on in the constituency for you, sir, on a daily basis?
First of all, let me just say that recently I just returned from the U.S., particular Brooklyn area, and we had engagements with residents in diaspora. The diaspora is a very important aspect of our nation's development, their contribution, their support towards development, even family members back home. So we always engage them. And so it's a great opportunity. We had an excellent opportunity to engage them. They ask questions and we give explanations. We enlighten them on various things. Some of it directly related to what is taking place in Carriacou, some of it on other issues, just for clarity. And so it was very enlightening. In terms of what is taking place in Carriacou, I have currently been engaged in a series of community engagements, what you call Meet the Caretaker. It's an opportunity for persons to come sit. We sit in an informal session. We engage directly. You ask me questions about myself, my plans, what is going on. So it's an upfront opportunity to approach me on anything, face-to-face, one-on-one. So I think it's an excellent experience, and we have been doing that. I have one scheduled for Friday coming in Mount Pleasant, so I look forward to that. So I'm going out there so persons could get a better understanding of who I am, what I represent, and what I've been doing, what I've done, and what opportunities lie there for us, for Carriacou and Petite Martinique, and for Grenada as a whole going forward. Because, what I do go past Carriacou and Petite Martinique as well and impacts the nation as a whole. And so I think that I have an excellent opportunity to offer a lot because we have seen the challenge that we experience in Carriacou now in terms of leadership, in terms of management, the lack of experience, the lack of empathy, the lack of humility, this profuse disrespect, which I'm really turned off by. I think we have had enough of that. Carriacou and Petite Martinique has had enough of that, and there's a clear opportunity for a better choice in me. And so that is what I represent. We have our initiative called Hands on Hope, a Rebuild initiative, where we go around and assist persons who have materials. We help them to rebuild, to get back in their home. So we are doing that. We have one project working on right now. We have some others to start in the coming weeks. So we're pretty busy in that regard. And we're doing our part. We're doing our part. I'm doing my part to help wherever I can. And so I feel very, very fortunate and grateful to be in a position to be able to help people during this difficult time. And so I'm happy with that, GT.
All right. We await the calls. If anyone have a question or two, the number 435-2041. If you want to ask Senator Cox anything in relation to our conversation this morning, feel free to do that in this particular segment here now, 435-2041. Senator Cox, as we await the calls, what if I could ask you the question, sir? You move into the forefront to represent Carriacou and Petite Martinique just for sake if there's an election call. With the current representation that the people of Carriacou and Petite Martinique are receiving, the representation that Carriacou and Petite Martinique have been having over the years with different representatives, what difference, Senator Cox, what's the difference we're going to see Senator Cox offer the folks of Carriacou and Petite Martinique? I'm seeing a smile on your face, sir, but what different will we be seeing Senator Cox offering the folks of Carriacou and Petite Martinique unlike that they have had previously?
With every representation, there are things that are always positive. There are some positive, and there are things that what continuing or growing. So areas where there are opportunities for expanding or building on things, initiatives that are already started, I think it's important that you do that. It takes maturity. It takes a vision to be able to see that and do that. And so that is something that I do. But in terms of moving Carriacou and Petite Martinique forward, I think that I'm best positioned to do so because of my wealth of knowledge and experience, because of my vision and love that I have for these islands and for Grenada as a whole, and because I listen. And there are a number of persons who may not have the appetite to sit where I sit, but have the competence and capacity to offer ideas and suggestions for we all to develop as a people. I think that is where I'm best placed to do so, to receive, to have those conversations, and to translate those, to implement those into real changes, to real outcomes. And I think that my resume speaks for itself, and I'm excited and looking forward to doing some wonderful things.
All right. So, Cox, we do have some callers on hold. Let's take our first caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning and welcome. And I beg of you to be brief,
Good
please.
morning,
Caller,
Senator.
good morning to you. And caller, before you continue, I beg of you to be brief, please, so that we can accommodate as much calls as possible. Go right ahead, please.
Senator Cox,
Good morning.
every Tuesday you come and then you talk about what's going on in Carrico. Senator Cox, I'm going to ask you again. What did Senator Cox did to better the life of the people in Carrico? And I'm talking about like every time you come, you speak about like trampolines and place people living in shelter. But I want to know what you and the NNP doing to move these people out of shelter. Because there is a lot of NNP people saying that they don't want NDC support, like the help. So I want to know, tell me what you do from Finsbury to now. I don't want to hear like you helping meditation and all this thing. You're talking about physical, like building houses, building tents for people, taking them out from the shelter. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Senator Cox, respond. Can we get a comment on another caller?
I want to thank the caller for his continued indulgence. I think it's important to get those feedback. I did just mention a while ago, GT, and I think the last time he asked a question, I did give extensive answers in terms of what we are doing, and we are currently engaged in a program what we call Hands on Hope. It's a community rebuild initiative where we are actually assisting persons rebuilding the house. We have donated material support and other things to persons, and we continue to do that. And so we have been doing that for the past few months, have not been posting it, and so maybe that's why we posted the houses and stuff. I've posted me building houses, assisting persons rebuilding. I've been doing that continuously for the past couple of months. But in terms of specific support, in terms of materials for persons, we continue to do that. I've been with limited resources that we have, but we still continue to do it with support from myself and other persons who continue to reach out and help Carricoans. And so there are a number of persons who do not want to be identified in terms of their support. They just want to help wherever they can, and they have been doing that, and we are very appreciative. And while on that, GT, I just want to thank all those who have reached out and give financial and other support to Carricoans and Pidimantnicans in a recent time, recent as last week. I want to say thank you very much.
All right. We do have another caller via WhatsApp. Good morning. Go ahead with your contribution, please, and be brief, please. Thank you.
Sure. Good afternoon. Good morning, GT, and good morning, Senator Cox.
Pleasant morning, sir.
Thank you, sir. If I may just advise, maybe just make my point in regards to, I think a great opportunity was lost when the bill for the changing of the day from Emancipation Day being the Monday and the Tuesday, and it was brought to the one day being the first alone. I think at that time, because I listened to the debate in Senate, and if at that time a call could have been made for probably the existence of another holiday for Carrico alone, be it for the regatta, just so that Carricoonians and Petit Martinicans can get that day off. I think a great opportunity was lost there at that time. You see, you did in fact state that as opposition, your duty is to oppose, but I think it's also an opportunity for you to bring leadership and guidance and insight where government may not see. And that's what I was looking for you for. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much.
If I could quickly, if I could recollect, I think in my presentation, I think I did mention briefly the opportunity that government have to offer a holiday at the Parliament. Maybe I missed it, but I think I in my notes I know that I have that noted. But I did mention this morning the fact that there's an opportunity for government to single out Carrico and Pidimantnic to have a specific holiday just the Monday, as we do for Carrico Carnival. So I did mention that. So thank the caller for raising that. But I did mention that previously.
All right. So I think we may have exhausted all of our calls for the morning, and we're already a couple of minutes after 10 o'clock. Senator Cox, I want to thank you a whole lot for coming on today's program. It's always interesting to have a conversation with you, sir. Anything in closing until we do this again? Anything in closing you would like to mention before we do this again?
Well, G, I just want to say, I mean, I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be where I sit, to offer, a broader view in terms of what we can do and how we can improve. And as I said, I always try to look beyond certain things, especially in the case where we are right now with our recovery process. I think it's important that we look past certain things and to focus on the needs of people. I mean, that is the most important thing right now for us. And I'm telling you, I mean, if I can tell you some of the things that we are doing, we are going above and beyond to help people because we recognize that there is a need for extra hands. There are other private institutions.
But it's also important to highlight it, so it's sometimes important to highlight it so folks can have an idea of what is going on.
Yeah, well, I think some of the support is very specific, and some persons don't want to, you don't want to be just singling out somebody, for certain things. I mean, people have their own little pride. I'm certain that things that the government are doing themselves, with the Minister of Character might be doing himself personally, that he's not, putting out. Those are some things that some people you have to respect people, and I think what is important is that some of the things that I do because that is who I am, that is what I want to do, and it's not in line with politics. And it's important that you make a clear distinction that you help people because you really want to help them, and you don't help them because you're trying to score some political points by assisting them. And I think that's where the difference lies. Okay. And people do have respect for you when you respect them, their views and values. All right. So it is a pleasure to be here. It's always wonderful to have this opportunity. I want to thank GBN for offering this opportunity to the opposition for us to continue to update everyone and as to where we are and what is taking place. I really enjoy being here. All right.
So, the Cock, is always a pleasure also, of course, to have you onto the program. And, of course, until we do this again, another opportunity comes around. I want to wish you all the best, and all the best to the folks in the Sister Isles of Carriacou and Petit-Martin. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you.
Hey, folks, that's we're going to take a wrap for today's edition of To The Point. I want to thank all who contributed to today's program. You sat at home, you listened, you contributed somehow. There was a couple of messages via the WhatsApp and so forth. I didn't get to read them out all, but thank you so much. Join us again for another edition of To The Point. That's where we say goodbye for today.